Welcome to Backstage Pass with Gail Davis, your invitation into the world of keynote speaking and event planning expertise. Join us as we pull back the curtain and dive into exclusive interviews with speaking industry experts. From seasoned speakers to master event planners, we're here to provide you with the ultimate backstage experience. Get ready to unlock valuable insights, tips, and strategies that will elevate your events and leave your audience inspired. Welcome. My name is Gail Davis, and I am the host of the podcast. And I am thrilled that we are going to kick off 2026 with our guest today, Dr. Gary Chapman. Dr. Chapman is most well known for a book that he published in the early 90s called The 5 Love Languages. It has sold over 14 million copies. It's been translated into 50 languages, and it continues to be on the New York Times bestseller list. Dr. Chapman is one of the most booked speakers here at GDA, and his repeat business, the demand for him to speak, really speaks to his popularity. And I'm thrilled for you all to be a part of our conversation today. Welcome, Dr. Chapman.
Well, thank you, Gail. I am glad to be with you.
I've loved being in your audience and learning where the 5 love language concept originated. Would you share with our audience how it started and then became a book?
Yeah, I never forget the first time it dawned on me that what makes one person feel loved doesn't make another person feel loved. There was a couple, I had never met them. I found out they'd been married to each other 30 years. And after we had talked a bit, the wife said, "Dr. Chapman, let me just tell you what the problem is. I just don't feel any love coming from him. We are like roommates living in the same house. We don't argue, but he does his thing and I do my thing. And I just feel empty. And I don't know what else to do." I looked at her husband and he said, "I don't understand her. I do everything I can to show her that I love her. And she tells you what she's been telling me. She doesn't feel loved." He said, "I don't know what else I could do." And I said, "Well, what do you do?" He said, "Well, I get home from work before she does. I start the evening meal. Some nights I have it ready when she gets home. If not, she helps me. After we eat, I wash the dishes every night. On Thursday, I vacuum the floors. On Saturday, I wash the car, I mow the grass, I help her with the laundry," and he went on. And Gail, I was beginning to wonder, what does this woman do? It sounded to me like he was doing everything. And he said, "I do all of that. And she says she doesn't feel loved." He said, "I don't know what else I could do." I looked back at her and she started crying.
Well,
And she said, "He's right. He is a hard-working man. But we don't ever talk. We haven't talked in 20 years. He's always mowing the grass, washing the dishes, vacuuming the floors." And I realized that here was a husband who genuinely loved his wife and was expressing it in the best way he knew how, but it was not connecting emotionally with his wife. And after that experience, I had similar experiences over and over in my office. And I knew there had to be an answer to this, but I didn't know what it was. So finally, I took time to sit down and read several years of notes that I made when I was counseling and asked myself the question, when someone said, "I feel like my spouse doesn't love me," what did they want? What were they complaining about? And their answers fell into 5 categories. And I later called them the 5 love languages, and I started using it in my counseling, that if you want her to feel love, you've got to learn how to express love in her love language. And if you want him to feel love, you've got to learn to express it in his language. And I would help people discover their language, challenge them to try it, and they would come back and say, "Gary, this is changing everything. I mean, the whole climate's different now." And then I started teaching it in small groups of couples, and the same thing would happen. It was probably 5 years later that I thought, if I could put this concept in a book and write it in the language of the common person, leave out psychological terms that many people would not understand, maybe I could help a lot of people I would never have time to see in my office. Of course, I had no idea what would happen, but it's gone all over the world now, which really surprises me. Uh, but it does seem to me that these languages are pretty fundamental to human nature, whatever the cultural differences are.
I'm guessing that most people who are listening are very familiar with the five love languages, but can you refresh us on those, or for anyone who hasn't heard of them, what are the five love languages?
Yeah, one of them is words of affirmation, just looking for things that you can genuinely affirm them for. One is acts of service. That's what the gentleman was speaking, acts of service, doing things for the other person. One is quality time, giving them your undivided attention. That's what the lady was begging for, quality time. We don't ever talk, is what she said. And then gifts. It's universal to give gifts as an act of love. And then physical touch, positive, affirming physical touches. And the basic idea is that out of those five, each of us has a primary love language, one that speaks more deeply than the others. And if we don't speak that language, they will not feel loved, even though we're speaking some of the other languages.
So I can kind of identify with the acts of service, gentlemen, on some level. So when you realize that your partner speaks a different love language, can you teach yourself how to address that?
Well, that's the good news. You can learn to speak any of these languages. I've had people say to me, Dr. Chapman, where a man said, my wife's language is words of affirmation, and I don't know how to do that. I never received positive words growing up, and I don't know how to do it. And I said, well, you are where you are. You can't change your history. I said, but here's the good news. You can learn to speak this language as an adult, even though you didn't receive it, once you know how important it is to them. And so I said to him, I said, does your wife ever do anything good? He said, well, yeah. I said, well, can you tell me two or three things that she's good at? He said, well, she's a good cook, and she's a good school teacher,
Yeah,
and she's a good mother. And I wrote those three things down and wrote out two or three sentences beside of them. And I said, now here's your assignment. Twice a day this next week, I want you to get in a room by yourself and read these sentences out loud. For one of them, for example, cooking was something like, honey, I haven't told you this, but I really appreciate all the meals you cook. You're a wonderful cook. Just simple two or three statements. And I said, when you come back next week, I hope you can say them to me without looking at your notes. He said, well, I'll try. Well, he came back and he did. I said, okay, here's your assignment. The next 3 weeks, I want you to give her one of these each week. I don't care what day of the week or what time of day, but you just give her one of these each week for 3 weeks. He said, man, I hope I can do this. I said, well, you just said them to me. If you can say them to me, you can say them to her. I said, now the first time you say one of these, you may want to say it when she's looking in another direction, because looking in her eyes might blow your mind, you know. Well, he came back and he had done it. And I said, how'd she respond? He said, well, on the third week, she said to me, what's going on with you? I have never heard you give me so many compliments. I said, what did you say? He said, well, I just said, honey, you know, we read that book and we took that quiz, and your language is words of affirmation. And I'm just trying to learn how to put my love into words because I do love you. She said, oh, that is so sweet. So you see, it's all a matter of attitude. If we understand how important it is, how meaningful it is to the other person, then we have motivation and we can learn to speak these languages, even though we didn't get them growing up.
You mentioned the quiz. Is that easily available online for anyone to take?
Yes, at 5lovelanguages.com, the number 5lovelanguages.com. There's a free quiz for married couples, one for single adults, one for teenagers, and one for children. And they're free. My publisher operates that, and they told me that 165 million people have taken the free quiz.
My goodness.
Now, we also have now a premium quiz that you have to pay for.
Okay.
But here's what it includes, because people have said to me, you know, in the original book, you mentioned dialects of the languages, but you don't talk about them. And you didn't talk about personality and how it interfaces with the love languages. So now we have a premium quiz, which will tell you that information. It'll give you the 5 in order. It'll tell you exactly what the languages are, the dialects are, and what is your favorite dialect, the one that speaks most deeply to you. It determines, show you your personality, and then how that interfaces with speaking the love languages. I put this one together with Les and Leslie Parrott. You may know them from Seattle, Washington. He's a psychologist. She's a marriage and family counselor. And we're really excited about it. We've had several people have already taken it, and we have a new book now that includes all of that stuff. It's just being released it's released now. And it deals with all of those things. It shares all those personalities and all of the dialects of all the languages. So we're really excited. For the people that have read the original book, this one is going to really help them be even more efficient in communicating love.
That's incredible. This podcast is being released in February, which is the month of Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And when I look back at all the times we've booked you, so many of those have been in the month of February for member organizations like YPO or EO. But you made an interesting comment when you talked about the different types of quizzes. This work has translated into the work environment, parenting, information for singles. How did you know that it was going to land so successfully in like the workplace environment?
Well, what really convinced me to write the book of the 5 languages of appreciation in the workplace, in which we're just taking the love languages to work, was a couple of research projects. One indicated that 70% of the people who have a job say they feel little to no appreciation at work, which really shocked me. And then also another research project indicated that 64% of the people who leave a job and go to another job say they left primarily because they didn't feel appreciated where they were.
Dr. Chapman, when an organization brings you in to speak, what's the real problem you think they're trying to solve?
Well, if it's in a work situation, many of them are realizing that they've had a number of people that have left the company and left complaints as they left and said things about not feeling appreciated and that sort of thing. Another factor is they have realized that there's a lot of discontent in the workers. They're hearing some things that workers are saying about appreciation and not feeling appreciated and that kind of thing. And they realize themselves that, wait a minute, if people don't feel appreciated, they're not going to be doing their best job. Mm-hmm. And so I think they began to realize that. And consequently, I mean, any leader wants to have the very best organization they can have, and they want it to be a healthy organization. And they want the people to, want to come to work because they love working here. And so I think those are primarily the things that motivate folks to ask me to come in and speak on that topic.
Is there one small step that people can take to help another person feel more valued? Do you have a suggestion on kind of where to start?
Yeah, I think you can say to a fellow employee, if you're the supervisor, you can say this, or if it's just a fellow employee, you can say this. Can I ask you a personal question? And they'll probably say yes. Mm-hmm. On a scale of 0 to 10, how much appreciation do you feel coming from me?
God, that's so simple.
And they may start laughing or they may start crying. And they may say, "Are you serious?" Yeah, because what I've realized is that sometimes I appreciate people, but they don't really feel it because I haven't expressed it in a good way or a positive way. And they'll say, "Well, to be honest with you, it's about a 4 for me. You have told me several times that you appreciated me doing things, but that doesn't resonate much with me. Words are just kind of simple. I mean, it doesn't cost anything to say words." And so I don't, and then you can say, "Well, what could I do that would be more meaningful to you?" Right. And then they'll tell you what it is.
Are
Now
the
that's being
5?
brave, but if you really want to improve, because
Mhm.
see, most managers would tell us when we were doing that research, most managers would say, I appreciate my people. I tell them all the time that I appreciate my people. And we said, well, you're reaching about 40% of your people because about 40% of the people, words of affirmation is their appreciation language.
So that's a question I have. Are the love languages the same from the couples book? Are they the same ones when you get into the
Exactly.
workplace environment for
The same
appreciation?
ones. But
Okay.
now, when it comes to physical touch,
Yes.
the HR people would say, no, 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 we don't touch at work. We heard that all the time. And we did find, after a number of people had taken the quiz, that almost no one has physical touch as their primary language at
Sure.
work. So we left it out of what we call the MBA inventory, Motivating by Appreciation Inventory. With the
Okay.
book, you get a free quiz, the MBA inventory,
Okay.
which tells you, your primary, secondary, and so forth. But almost no. So we left it out of the inventory, but we do have a chapter in the book about it. And what we essentially say about physical touch is, if you see people giving high fives, it's okay to give them a high five. If
Yep.
you see them patting someone on the back, it's okay to pat them on the back. But if you don't ever see them touch anyone, probably best not to touch them. Or if you do touch them and they stiffen up, don't ever touch them again. Okay.
Yeah.
And then we
Yeah.
deal in that chapter with sexual abuse in the workplace and physical abuse in the workplace,
Oh,
which is a problem in some
wow.
places.
Yeah. Okay. Wow, that is fascinating. I mean, it's so simple just to ask someone, how do I
Yeah.
rate?
Yeah.
And like you said, it's brave.
Yes. Don't ask if you don't want to hear.
So much of this work is individual. It's based on an individual's test results. So when you give a keynote presentation, what's your formula? How do you present it so that it draws everyone in?
Well, I present, first of all, I share those two research projects. That kind
Yeah,
of wakes
there you
people
go.
up.
Yeah.
And then I ask them up front, I say, let me ask you a question. Please don't answer this out loud, but on a scale of 0 to 10, how much appreciation do you feel from your immediate supervisor? Well, they're on board right now because they're thinking. And then I say, if you are the supervisor, how much appreciation do you think your people, are getting from you?
Yeah.
And then
And
I say,
those
so the reason
two.
I'm asking that is I've discovered that what makes one person feel appreciated doesn't make another person feel appreciated. And so I share that whole concept and then share where this came from and how we took it to the workplace and how much difference it's made in the workplace. So
That's
we're excited
fantastic.
about that book and that concept. And the book is selling really, really well. I don't know what the latest numbers are, but it's sold, lots of copies.
Well, I cannot thank you enough for starting us off on the right track in 2026. It's really given me a lot of food for thought. And I just think your work is so genuine and honest, and it really helps remind people that relationships thrive when people seem seen and valued.
Yeah.
And so, if there is anyone out there that's interested in bringing Dr. Chapman in to speak to the original 5 love languages or to talk about the language of appreciation in the workplace, please let us know here at GDA Speakers. It's always an honor to work with Dr. Chapman. He is easy to work with. He has a great team that supports him, and he always delivers. So thank you so much, Dr. Chapman. I appreciate it, and good luck on that new book.
Thank you, Gail. And thanks for having me. And the name of that new book is The Love Language That Matters Most.
Oh,
That's the name of the book.
okay. The love language that matters most. Thank you. I've got 2 new books to read.
All right.
Thank you, Dr. Chapman.
Keep up the good work. All right.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you for joining us on Backstage Pass with Gail Davis. Tune in for more exclusive interviews and pro tips to elevate your events. Don't forget to subscribe and share your thoughts with us. We'll catch you next time behind the curtain on Backstage Pass.